This video is showing how to change the brake fluid on the rear brake of a Zontes Monster 125. The same process applies for the front brake too. First thing you need to do is make sure the cap is clean and there's nothing around it that can fall into the reservoir. This is because if contaminants fall into the reservoir, it can damage the master cylinder seals as well as the brake caliper. Once that is done, you can then remove the cap for your brake fluid. In this case, you notice the brake fluid is a browny orangey colour. This is not good, and it's a sign of water contamination in your braking system. So it is a good job we are replacing the brake fluid on this bike today. As far as I am aware, this is the original brake fluid that came with the bike in 2014. The next thing you need to do is go over to the rear brake caliper, remove the dust cover for the bleed nipple and connect a hose to that bleed nipple, just like so. With that done, you want to make sure the other end of the pipe goes into a bottle with some other brake fluid. In this case, it is what is left after bleeding the front brake of my motorbike. All this does is prevent air going back into your brakes and getting air in your lines. So what you want to do now is remove almost all of the brake fluid from your master cylinder. This can be done with a syringe or anything else really. Just make sure to keep some in the master cylinder because you don't want to run it completely dry, as that would introduce air into the system. You can now see that I have removed almost all of the brake fluid that was in the master cylinder. I have collected it in a syringe, which I will then empty into the bottle after the bleeding process. After the brake fluid change is complete. What you now want to do is refill your master cylinder with fresh brake fluid. Just be careful though, because brake fluid is highly corrosive and can damage paints. So make sure not to get any brake fluid on paint. You can now see I have refilled the brake fluid reservoir. So what you need to do now is take an 8mm spanner and crack off the bleed nipple on the rear brake caliper, just like so. There you go. That is all it's needed. You can see now that is loose. So what you do now is simply press the brake pedal over and over again, just like so. When doing this, make sure your reservoir does not go completely empty, and also make sure that the pipe stays in the brake fluid in your other container. So just keep pumping it and you will see the level in the master cylinder start depleting. Once it gets low, simply refill with more fresh brake fluid. Once you have done that and your master cylinder is full of fresh, clean brake fluid, and you can see in the bottle how contaminated the old brake fluid was, what you then do is once again take your 8mm spanner and simply nip off the bleed nipple, just like that. You don't want it to be too tight, just snug, because if it is too tight, it will be very difficult to remove in the future. There is probably a torque measure for this, but I don't have it, so just hand tight. Then simply remove your hose from the bleed nipple, just like so. Move your bottle of waste brake fluid and put the little rubber cap back onto your bleed nipple. Then you'll notice your brake pedal might be a bit stiffer, just like that. And what you want to do now is make sure your brake fluid level is in between the upper and lower boundaries on your reservoir